Hello students. So today we continue with our chapter, Accounting of Partnership Firms, the Fundamentals. We're going to study a new topic in this, which is going to deal with the capital accounts that we prepare for the partners. Now there are two methods of preparing a capital account for the partners, and we're going to study both those methods. Before that, first let's understand why we create a capital account. The reason for creating a capital account for partners is to record transactions regarding what money the partners have given to the business and what way they are earning back interest maybe on that capital, or when they are doing drawings, what is the interest that is charged to them, or also about the salary that they are paid, etc. So we'll see the two methods. Now let's divide this into two types. The first is a fixed method, and the second is a fluctuating method. All right. So before we go into this detail of what these are, let's try and break this up into further divisions. In the fixed method, we have to prepare two kinds of accounts. The first is going to be called the partner's capital account. And the second is going to be called the partner's current account. Under the fluctuating method, we just make one kind of an account, which is going to be known as the partner's capital account. Now, why is it that we make two accounts here and one account here? Well, this is by default that we have to remember. If a question says we are going to be following the fixed method of maintaining a capital account, in that case, we are going to make two accounts. One is going to be the partner's capital account. And some things to note in this is this capital account that we create over here, this always has a credit balance. Whereas this partner's current account that we make, this could have a debit or credit balance. And the same holds for in the fluctuating method, the partner's capital account. Here also, this could have, I won't say always, but I would say it could have either a debit or a credit balance. All right. So this is the way we classify these kinds of an account, and we'll further see the formats of them, of the different account types that we have made. So let's go to the first one, which is called the fixed capital method or the fixed method. Under the fixed method, we are going to make the format for the first of them, which is called partners capital account. Let's make two sides of this account, the debit and the credit. On the debit, we'll see what items to write, but first let's write the credit side items. So the credit side items will contain our first item, which is buy balance brought down. So if, for example, this question is about a single partner, so we are going to write the balance. I'm sorry, why will it be a single partner? It should be at least two partners. So let's make it for two partners. So let's put the heading with two partners' names on both the sides. Let's say we have A and B as well on the other side. So A and B, two partners. These are the particulars that we enter here and here. The first item that we're going to write in this is by balance brought down. So as I said sometime back, this always has a credit balance. So the opening balance will come on the credit side. This is my opening balance. So let's say these two partners have a balance mentioned. So in my format, in my pro forma, the opening balance will come on the credit side. The next item which we must know, which comes in this kind of an account, is going to be any addition of capital. So by cash or bank. In brackets, I will write this as additional capital, and I will show this on the credit side as the second item. So let's say these are two partners. Initially, partner A brought in a capital which is written in the first entry on the credit side. Partner B brought some capital written as the first entry on the credit side. Now later on within the year, maybe these two partners brought in more capital. So when somebody brings in more capital, if I talk about the journal entry to bring in more capital, what's the journal entry? It is bank or cash account debit to whichever partners bring. So partners capital account. This is the journal entry. Why is bank or cash debited? Because this is a personal account and you have to debit it when money is coming in. So you've debited it. And partners capital account, why is it credited in this case? Because the liability is being created. These partners have brought in more capital. So the liability has increased. So therefore the second entry here on the credit side says buy cash or bank account, and I show that amount which they additionally bring in the middle of the year. If I go to the debit side, the first entry to write here is the withdrawal of capital. So when we withdraw capital, when the partners, suppose we have A and B, if these partners decide to withdraw some of their capital during the year, then what will be my entry? To cash or bank account. In brackets, I will write it as a withdrawal of capital. Whatever may be the amount, what they are deciding to withdraw during the year. And the last entry, which will come in this account, will be the closing balance. So as we know, a capital account always has a credit balance. So the closing balance will come on the debit side. So to balance brought down. This is going to be my closing balance. And I will write it under each of the partners. And I close this account. All right, so this is the first kind of an account under the fixed method which we are making. The first account is partners capital account. What did we see about it? It always has a credit balance. So we start off with an item written as buy balance brought down on the credit side, which is the opening credit balance, and we end off with an item on the debit side, which is the closing credit balance. In the middle of the year, if we have additional capital brought in by the partners, we will write it on the credit side. And if we have withdrawal of capital done by any of these partners, we will write that on the debit side. So this is the first. Now let's go to the next. The next is called partner's current account. So let's put the heading. Again, let's make that format, the account format, the ledger format, a debit and a credit. We write the headings, particulars, the two partners that we are taking an example of. I suppose we are taking A and B, or X and Y. Let's see once more. We are taking A and B. So let's continue with the same. Call them A and B. Again, on the credit side, particulars, A and B. Okay, now in this I said we either have a debit balance or a credit balance. So suppose we have a debit balance mentioned for this particular account. In our questions, we may sometimes be given the opening credit balance of the partner's current account. So in that case, we will write it on the credit side. So I will write it as by balance brought down in brackets opening. And I will write the amount, whatever may be the amount given in my question. The second item that we have to write in this case will be by interest on capital. By the interest on capital. So let's write that amount, whatever may be there. When we calculate, where do we calculate interest on capital? We calculate it in a P&L appropriation account. That's how we show it there. So the same amount we will also be writing in the partner's current account under this entry. The third entry, what else do we give partners? We give them a salary. So by partner's salary. So let's write that amount, whatever may be given to them. We write the amounts against their names. What else can we give them? We give them partners commission also at times. So partners commission. And we may give them profits. So the next item, these profits, where do we get them from? We get them from our P&L appropriation account. So here we will write by P&L appropriation account. These are the profits which are given to partners. So partners' profits. We will write them down here. And let's see, we leave some space now. Continue with making this format. Now, if I look at this, you'll see all these items written on the credit side in this partner's current account. These are increasing the capital of the partners. You see the first entry, which is given as their current account balance. So partners who are there, they have a balance at the beginning. To that balance, we are showing that we are also giving them interest on the capital. That is why we have written the second entry. The third entry is showing partner's salary. and each of them are shown in this to be given a salary. So we add that again. Partner, when they are given a commission, their commission is also added. And in the end, when they are distributed the profits left of the partnership firm, that is also added on the credit side. So we see that all the items written in our partner's current account on the credit side are the items which are actually increasing their capital. This is increasing their capital. So I'm just writing it on the top for you to remember. This is increasing their capital. Now let's go to the debit side of this. I said before we started to make this account that this account will either have a credit balance or it could have a debit balance. Sometimes it can be given that these partners have a debit balance. So in that case, the first entry that we will write here on the debit side will be to balance brought down. Again, our opening balance, and we write the amounts. All right. So at times when our question says these partners' current accounts have a debit balance, we will show that on the debit side. The next item to write here. The second item is drawings. So to drawings account. What does this mean? This is an item which is going to reduce the capital. We can relate it with our balance sheet, which we have learned in class 11. We saw that on the liabilities side of a balance sheet, we write under the heading capital, we add the net profit, which is given here, which I'm going to show on the credit side. This is the partner's profit, the last item which we have written in this account. So the net profit plus the capital, which is our opening balance, and minus the drawings. So that is why the item which we have written on the debit side, the second item, which I'm underlining here, this is that item. That is why we are writing this on the debit side, because if we relate this to our normal sole proprietor's balance sheet, there also we are done under the heading capital. First we wrote the capital balance, to that we added the net profit, and we reduced the drawings. So the same logic we can think of, we are applying over here. The third entry, to interest on drawings account. So whatever may be the interest which we are to take back from the partners on the drawings, that is going to be my third entry. And what else? Here another item which we can write is to profit and loss account. When I write this, it means the loss. So the loss, whenever a partnership firm is also making, we normally don't carry this to the P&L appropriation account. We don't show a loss over there. So in that case, we directly bring it to the partner's current account. And if we are bringing it to the partner's current account, we will bring it on the debit side, and we will show this on the debit side as to profit and loss account. All right, so these are the items which we have to remember. Now, if we look at the debit side items, we see drawings, interest on drawings, profit and loss account, which is a loss. So what is this actually doing? It is reducing the partner's capital. So if I write this on the top, this is reducing the capital. Okay, so all the items which we see on the debit side of this account are the ones which are reducing the capital of the partners. Now, if the credit side is more, then we will be left with a balance on the debit side. So in that case, the last entry will come on the debit side, which will be known as to balance carried down, and I will write this as closing balance. If it's left for both the partners on the debit side, I'll write it for both. or I can be left with an item, or I can be left with a balance on the credit side. So in that case, I will write this as buy balance carried down closing balance. All right. Now simply let's close this account. Let's do the totals. Write it on both the sides. All right. So these are the items which we have to remember, which come in a partner's current account. Now, why do we maintain a partner's current account and a partner's capital account through this method? Let's understand this. You see the first account that we made. I'll just scroll up. This account that we made, the partner's capital account under the fixed method. We saw there are just 4 entries in this. So what all will come in this account? The entries that show the opening balance, the entries that show the additional capital introduced by the partners, the entry that shows the removal of capital from the partners, and the entry that shows the closing balance of the partners. These are the only 4 items which we have to remember come in this account. Okay. Now the question is, why do we maintain this? So it depends. At times, partnership may say that the firm is maintaining the capital accounts of the partners through the fixed method. So in that case, we know this is the first account that we are going to make, and these are the 4 items that come under it. And along with this, we also have to make a partner's current account, which is the second account that I'm showing on screen right now. In this, we have to remember these items which are shown on both the sides of this account. And this you can term as a current account because this account's balance keeps on changing. If you look at this, you see the items which are coming on the credit side. The second item mentioned is interest on capital. This is raising the partner's capital. Third item is again a partner's salary. Again, it's raising the partner's capital. Fourth, fifth, all these items, these are all raising the partner's capital. And the ones which are coming on the debit side, these are reducing the partner's capital. So when I say, or when this account says it is a partner's current account, it actually means this account's balance is going on changing. Okay, I'm writing it on the top. The balance is going on changing. Again and again. All right. Whereas the one that we made first, I'll drag it back on top. This account's balance is fixed. This balance is not changing. Balance doesn't change except in the case of addition of capital or withdrawal of capital. So these are the only 2 cases in which this account's balance will change. If we don't have additional capital in the question introduced by the partner or any withdrawal of capital done by the partner, then in that case, my opening balance and the closing balance, in that case, this and this will be the same. So this is the only case when these 2 balances will be the same. All right, so let's go to the third of them now, or the second method which we are going to prepare a capital account. That is going to be known as the fluctuating method. And under this, I said that we are going to just make one account, which is going to be known as the partner's capital account. So we are just making one account under this, which is called the partner's capital account. We have a debit and credit side, and we have the same columns, so particulars A, B, particulars A and B. These are the two partners who are doing business together. Now let's write the items. What all items come in this? All right, so when you have a fluctuating method, you have to remember that you just have to combine those two accounts that we made in the first method. Everything will be written all together over here. So the first item that we maintain on the credit side is by balance brought down. This is my opening capital. So when I write my opening capital, I'll write it on the debit on the credit side. The second item which we write on the credit side is when we are bringing in additional capital. So I will write by cash or bank. In brackets, write it as additional capital. So this is the next item. What else did we write? The next item that we wrote was by interest on capital account. So if we are giving interest to these partners, that balance also we are writing for the two partners. Next we wrote by partner's salary. So let's write that as well in the amount section. Then we gave commission, so by partners commission. So whatever may be the amount. Next we wrote by P&L appropriation account. This was our partners' profits. So through our P&L appropriation account, which we make, we may have found out an amount of profit to transfer to them. So we transferred it in the capital account on the credit side. And the last item, by balance carried down. This is my closing balance. All the same items as we wrote it in the last account that we made. The partner's current account, all those items I'm just writing here. So you see the last 5 items written on the credit side are from the partner's current account, and the first 2 items written on the credit side are from the partner's capital account of the fixed method. Now if I come to the debit side, the same thing I have to do. I have to write all the items which were there in both those accounts. So the first item would be to cash or bank account. This is withdrawal of capital. The second item, to over here, the second item will be, all right, one thing I did not mention, this should contain another item on the debit side, the first item, Let's write that before this. So the first item will be to balance brought down. Okay, opening balance. So as I said, this account can also have a debit balance as well as a credit balance. So if this has a debit balance, you will write that on the debit side. The next item, as we had written some time back, it is to cash account or bank account. This is going to be your withdrawal of capital. Third item. So we are mixing both those accounts, and the third item comes as two drawings. Two drawings account, write the amount. Two interest on drawings. This is the next item. Anything else? Yes, we wrote about the profit or loss account. So here I'm going to write to profit and loss account, and in brackets the loss. So sometimes in our business we may make a loss. That also has to be charged to the partners. We have to ask them to pay for that loss. So how do we pay for it? We debit their capital account. So it's actually a reduction in their capital. We are taking this money indirectly from them. All right, and the last item, we are going to be left with a balance, suppose on the debit side, which is going to be a closing balance, and this will be a credit balance. So here I'm going to write to balance carried down closing balance. All right, now let's put the last line of this account on the two sides, and we see that this is the complete partner's capital account according to the fluctuating method. So if we have a question to prepare a partner's capital account according to the fluctuating method, we know this is going to be the format, what we are seeing on screen right now. All right, so what is the difference now between these two accounts? Let's see what is the difference between these two accounts. A very simple difference. It is an important question for the exams, so we're just discussing it. So we have two methods that we have seen. We have one is the partner's capital account, and one is the fluctuating method. So we have fixed method and fluctuating method. So let's write the two methods. And fluctuating. Fixed and fluctuating method. These are our two methods that we have seen. Now, there will be some bases on which we will differentiate. Let's write the bases on the left-hand side. So the first basis is the change in capital. So the fixed method over here, the balance of the capital will not change except in case of addition or withdrawal of capital. All right, so the balance of the capital will not change except in two cases. One is addition of capital and one is withdrawal of capital. When I say withdrawal of capital, I want you to understand this. Withdrawal means the capital is taken out of the business. Withdrawal means capital is taken out of the business by the partner and it's not coming back. Okay, capital is taken out of the business by the partner and it's not coming back. This is what this means here. Now, if I talk about fluctuating method, in the fluctuating method, what is the difference according to the change in capital? Here, the balance of the capital, remember I told you it goes on changing. So the balance of the capital goes on changing. Okay, here the balance of the capital goes on changing. The second method or the second basis to differentiate is the number of accounts, you can say. So how many accounts we make? In the fixed method, we make 2. In the fluctuating method, we make 1. All right. The next difference which we can talk about is recording of transactions. Recording means noting down your transactions. So where do we note down our transactions? We note down our transactions in 2 accounts. So recording of transactions here, transactions relating to drawings, interest on drawings, interest on capital, etc. are written in the current account and only addition of capital and withdrawal of capital is written in the capital account. Okay. Now, whereas in the fluctuating method, all the transactions are written in the capital account. So these are three differences which we have made. We must remember them. It can come off 3 marks as a distinction in your exams. So we can remember them. It's very easy based on what we have studied right now. This is on that basis that we have differentiated them. Now, this point that I was talking about here, I said capital is taken out of the business by the partner and it is not coming back. That is what withdrawal of capital means. Now, when I talk about drawings is something which the partner has withdrawn, but he's going to bring it back and give it back to the business. So there is a distinction between withdrawal of capital and drawings that must be remembered, right? So we'll continue further on. For now, we'll stop over here.